Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 18 of Inside the Wrongful Conviction of Daniel Holtzclaw. And again, tonight we're going to be talking about Tabitha Barnes. As I warned early on, this is a really, really complicated case, much more complicated than accuser Sherry Ellis is even. So it's just going to take us a little bit longer to unpack her accusations and hopefully try to explain them all for you guys so that you don't have to try to figure it out yourselves. So we'll get started with finishing a video, partially finishing a video done by that Brian Bates have put together. So we're gonna watch that, and then we'll discuss it a little bit, and then try to go through this police report and talk to you about the first, second, and third incidences, and we're going to try to unravel her timeline for you because it's it's very twisted. She has every single date incorrect. Well, there's only really two, but she has them completely incorrect, and it took us a long time to try to untwist it and figure it out ourselves, like I mentioned before. So hello to everybody in the chat and everyone who's watching and all the lurkers. Hello, Rhonda SD. Thank you so much for being here. And I just want to say hello to the panel and see if anybody has any comments or anything that they'd like to say before we start the show. Sheree?
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Inside the Wrongful Conviction of Daniel Holtzclaw.
Thank you. Kay?
Hello, everyone.
And Inexplicable Susan.
Sorry. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Couldn't get to my mute button.
Thanks, Susan. And hello, Under Your Scars. It's great to have you in the chat. I know you're often working and traveling back and forth during this time, so I appreciate you being here. Jack may not be here again this evening, or he might pop in later. I don't know if he does. I don't know if he'll be streaming for Foul Play or not, but he's got quite a bit going on. So if we do get to see him at some point, that would be cool. Okay. All that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started and pick up on this video. I've gone back a few minutes to refresh your memory of kind of where we left off on the last one. So here we go.
Okay, he went in my house for no reason, was not called to go inside my home.
He said he was already in there?
He told me this.
Who was inside?
Terry Williams.
Who's Terry Williams?
An ex-friend of mine.
How do I get a hold of Terry?
He in Loudon. I'll give me your number.
Okay, can you give me his number too?
He lost that phone, that's why I said give me your number. But he was asleep. He was asleep in the house. He said that because I told him what happened, what he made me do. He was like, you can do something about that. I said, now who's gonna believe me over a police officer's word?
But he tells you he was inside and Terry was there?
Yes, he was asleep. Terry was asleep in my home.
So he knew he was asleep.
And he knew it.
And he said,
I've been all in your house. I said, for what reason? I said, you just walking out? I said, okay, you been in my house, okay. So, I'm not hiding nothing. Nothing's in my home. This is what got me. I want to say the next day, it seemed like he just came on duty.
Hang on, Tabitha. And I know you want to get on to the next deal. I just want to cover this. He said he was all up in the house, and there was a guy asleep on the couch.
No, in the room.
In the room?
In the room. Terry said when he woke up, he woke him up with the flashlight in his face.
And what did he say? What did Terry say?
I asked him his name again. I guess ran his name and left out. But who knows how long he was in the house.
Okay, so Terry, do you know how to Terry? Williams? Okay.
Yeah, who knows?
He said he ran him?
Yeah, and Terry said he had it. And when we call him Shorty and his friend get off, when they get off of work, they would come over here and chill with me when they got off of work. And Jesse, I don't know Jesse's last name, but I can get it. When they got off work, they were sitting right here. I mean, he pulled Jesse out the truck one day, told him he had on makeup, that he was gay. They had just got off work. I mean, would just come here, I don't know what his thing was.
Talking about the cop?
Yeah.
Okay.
Told him he had on makeup, that he was gay, and all kind of stuff. Oh, okay. Nothing. They came back because, okay, we're going to rewind that because after he made me, after he made me show, the ice cream situation, was waiting to go get ice cream. I want to say 3 days or something later, a guy broke in my home. And there, we was having a slumber party. So it was a lot of girls. I have more kids.
Before this time that we just talked about?
Mm-hmm. Okay. And he was one of the officers that showed up out of probably 10.
But nothing happened that day?
No, he kept asking me, where's all the girls that was in the house?
But that day that their slumber party thing, he didn't do anything to you?
That's when he started coming. Afterwards. That's when he started coming.
So, slumber party.
We went to eat.
Lots of kids?
Yeah, a lot of girls. It was the girls.
But there was more cops.
Yeah, because I had to call him for the break-in. So, but he seen, everybody was in the house. They was all
So
little girls.
And then this other time was days later. That's when he had you sit in the car.
Yeah, he asked me about that. He was like, where's all...
He said he was all up in your house.
Yeah.
Did he say anything specific about your house?
No, he was just like, I was all in your house. I said, well, why would you be in my home? I didn't call you. You should be taking care of the guy that was on the ground.
Was Terry a boyfriend or what?
Yeah.
Okay. And so he was in your bedroom?
Actually, my son's room sleep.
Okay. Make sure you get me Terry's name, okay? Or his phone number, pass on. I need to get a hold of him. Okay. So this next thing, so he didn't touch you on that, but then the next time, how much later are we? Let's go to this.
This is when it ended. He came over.
How much later?
The next day.
So 2 weeks plus a day.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I want to say like a month ago he came too, but I didn't open the door.
Okay, I managed to catch my note. Yay. So this is so confusing because she's going into I don't really know what she's going into, and I don't think she knows what she's going to say next. I think I believe she's making a lot of this up as she goes, personally. But I'm going to try. I know I explained this the last time, and I'm going to explain it again, and we'll go over this in the police report and an AVL in a little more detail in a little bit. But The events that occurred began on around midnight, a little after midnight, on February 27th, 2014. This is the night of the what she refers to as the ice cream night, the ice cream situation. I think it's in the police report or somewhere, that she says that they were sitting in the car, her, Angela Cooper, and her daughters were sitting in the car, warming it up in the driveway, waiting for it to pass midnight so that they could get food stamps on their food stamp cards and go and get snacks. And somebody says ice cream. I don't remember if it's one of the girls in the car or Angela Cooper or Tabitha Barnes. We'll find that out, I think, in the police report. But somebody talks about they're waiting on February 27th after midnight to go get ice cream with the food stamps. So that's the first alleged contact with Tabitha Barnes. And then she's claiming that he and another officer showed up at that stop as well. Officer Ivan Venegas shows up to back up Officer Holtzclaw. He was free. He heard Holtzclaw say something about he was out on subjects, whatever his call was, and so Venegas was free and near the area, so he showed up to back him up because there were two adults in the vehicle. So Venegas takes Angela Cooper and takes her to his vehicle, his patrol car, and he interviews her there. And then Daniel takes Tabitha Barnes to his vehicle and he interviews her there inside the back seat of the patrol car, which is normal. No matter what they try to tell you during the trial about how abnormal it is that all these girls are in the back of the patrol car, because it's absolutely normal in every police department that I'm aware of. So anyway, they have this conversation. Daniel, I'm assuming he asks her. He's already suspects Tabitha's residence to be a crack house, a drug house, a trap house, and so he is asking her questions about drugs. And do you have any drugs on you? Do you sell drugs? Do you know where can you buy drugs? Does anybody that comes here do drug? All the questions that you would ask. And remember, he's also been on gangs. He's also worked on the gang unit for a year at this point as well. So he's deploying, lots of questions that any officer normally would when investigating a potential trap house. So this is the first contact, the first incident, the ice cream story. And then the second incident is nearly 24 hours later, still on February 17th, a little after 10, if I'm not mistaken, 10 p.m., when Tabitha and whoever else is with her pull up to her house after, I don't know, she says they all went out to eat or something. They all pull back up at her house and realize that her house has been broken into. So one of the women who are part of that particular incident calls the police to report a break-in, and they see the guy. This is the guy that is carrying the bag of frozen steaks and the brand new boxed microwave oven, and he runs away, and the women chase him and all that stuff. So this is all in less than 24-hour period of time, still February 17th or February 27th, 2014. Try as hard as it will be, I'm just giving you these details because it's going to be almost impossible to follow her. When they finally get around to talking about the third incident, she starts talking. She tries to say this first incident is March 4th. It's nowhere near March 4th. I told you it's February 27th. So you're going to hear her say something about that in the video, about March 4th being the first thing. And then she says, you know, a couple weeks later, then he came back. And somewhere along the line, I think she says the very next day, he did have contact with Tabitha Barnes the next time on March 25th, 2014. He also had contact with Florine Mathis earlier in the day on March 25th, around the corner right by Tabitha's residence. And I'm going to try to show you the how it looks like they might, I don't know, I feel like there was something funny, but probably not, just me being over, you know, thinking it probably. At any rate, the second incident, the second contact with Tabitha Barnes from Officer Holtzclaw is not until 3 weeks and a couple of days later on March 25th, 2014. Then she again starts talking about, and the very next day, and then she breaks off and says, oh no, about a month later, he came back about a month later. If he did go back a month later, there's no AVL to show that, that we have anyway. So we have the AVL from the two incidents on the 27th and March 25th, I believe. I don't think we have anything from the 26th. I haven't gone that far. At any rate, well, actually, I have gone that far, and I'll show you my big demonstration of what actually occurred on the 26th of March. So hopefully, as you're listening to her, you can remember those three incidents, those three situations that she's going to talk about. And hopefully my explanation will make a little more sense. So we're going to get back into the video, and please don't hesitate to ask questions in the chat, or if the panel has a question, we can pause.
I was looking at him through the window.
Was he in uniform?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 2 weeks. So it was the very next day.
Okay, he came, and I opened up the door. I was cooking, and I didn't know what to do, so I called my mother in Texas to let her listen. Because he would always ask me for my phone. Every time, the first times, but I was in my house this time.
But this is the next day after he sat you out here in his car.
Came over here, and he was like...
About what time?
But I knew his hours, too, about 4:30.
4:30 during the day.
He had to just come on duty because you could smell his cologne, and he didn't look like he had just, been out. He ain't been out. He looked like he just came on.
Okay.
So
he goes to the door, he knocks.
Knocks hard. My brother was here then, Danny Brown.
You said you called your mother?
I called my mom on my phone. I was already telling her that I was tired of him, wanting to see my body, and I didn't know what to do about it. My mother lives in Texas.
Okay.
So, he said...
You opened the door.
I opened the door.
Okay.
He was like, what are you doing? I said, cooking dinner for my kids. He said... Can I come in? I said, no. So you're not gonna, I need to come search your house for drugs. I said, you want to come search my house for drugs? I said, I don't know where you're getting your information from, but it's the wrong information, first of all. I said, second of all, you just told me you was all in my house last night. If you, if everything was in my home, you would have seen it then, was my point. So, he said, so you're not going to let me in? I said, no, he said, who here with you? I said, me and my kids. I didn't even tell my brother was with me. I said, me and my kids. And he was like, so you're not going to let me in? I said, no. He said, all right. He started talking. I don't know what he mumbled under his breath. What he mumbled under his breath. And he was like, I'm helping you. I'm doing you a favor. You haven't paid your fucking tickets. And I heard him say that. He said, I'll be back. I was like, okay. And that was in May. So May 1st, my mom had a heart attack.
So this is, wait. You said the first incident was March 4th. You said 2 weeks later was this incident. And that would still be in March.
So I said in May, In May, I left like May 1st.
Oh, you
and
left.
I never seen him again.
Where did Mama's?
Yeah, I left for 3 months.
Okay, and that was the last time you actually had any dealings with him?
Face to face.
Okay.
When he wanted to come in, what reason, I don't know.
Okay. Let me kind of cover this just a little bit more. Okay. First time was March 4th. That's where he had you lift your shirt and your bra. And that's where he lifted up your breasts.
Yeah.
Kind of about where we're parked a little bit right now.
Right here.
There's a call at your house. This is in reference to the break-in. He comes with other officers. There's dealings with a slumber party, but he doesn't do anything to you then.
No.
Okay, because there's other officers.
Yeah, I went my own self when I told, the man that broke in my house. We actually held him down until the officers got here.
Is he the main officer on that call? Okay. Then it was 2 weeks after the first incident. That's when he pulls you back here. He has you lift your shirt all the way, and then he has to see down your pants. Could he see your vagina on that second time?
Yeah.
You had on what color leggings?
I had on black leggings with no panties. I didn't have no underwear.
Did he know you didn't have any underwear?
Not at the time. And I'm sure he didn't.
Okay.
Until,
And going along with that, he has you pull. How does he ask to see you got anything down your pants?
I did like this. No, I don't. He said he had his flashlight.
Oh, he was looking down.
Yeah, he had his flashlight. I said, no, I do not.
So you just flipped it out?
Yeah.
And then, does he say anything when you flip it out?
He never said nothing, but
Okay. Was your legs faced out here?
No, they were still in the car.
Okay. Okay. So then you had your. But he didn't touch you. It was lifting the shirt. Okay. What kind of a shirt did you have on then?
I wear a lot of t-shirts, so it's probably like a white t-shirt.
Okay.
Basically, because I wear a lot of t-shirts.
Okay. Could your kids see any of this?
No.
Were they out there?
I think Ariana was on the porch, but
Did he ask to see your breast or touch your breasts?
when?
On the second time.
No, he just asked me to raise my shirt up. Asked me did he always say, "Do you got drugs on you?" And I would say no. I don't know where you getting your information. He was like, well, I'm gonna have to check you. Can you raise your shirt? Just like he would ride by my house every day. I got to the point where I wouldn't even come outside. Like I would barricade because I didn't want him messing with me. I would just watch him do other girls like that on the side of I would look out the window.
What do you mean?
They could be walking and he could be just stop them randomly.
Do you know of anybody that he's done this to?
I didn't know. I don't know nobody over here. So, I mean, I would call my daughter. I'd be like, look, he doing it to them. And I seen him once before.
But you don't know a name.
Don't know no names, and he would let them go all the time. And once again, he couldn't. I don't know what happened, but I was seeing him. Every time I seen him stop anybody, it was a female. I seen him stop someone at the Northeast 16 store.
I want you to describe him again to me. Make sure I got him.
About 6'1",
Okay.
probably 6'2".
You said he was what race?
He's white.
Okay. What color skin?
White skin.
I mean, like
a tan color, like an Indian tan color to me. Not dark, but he wasn't pale.
okay.
Tall guy,
What would he wear?
broad shoulders. He would always have his hair, like, I guess he would do it with hairspray.
What color hair?
Like a brown in it, brownish, light browns, and it would be spiked up in the front.
What do you think he'd weigh? Because the other day you said he was really built.
He is up here, like a stocky build to me. He probably hitting about 230.
Anything else about him?
He was young. He wasn't an older guy. He was probably, I say, in his 30s, 34. Might have been younger than that, but he wasn't like in his 40s or nothing like that.
You never caught his name?
No, I never got his name. I just would tell my mom and my family, like, it was just like, it's something you can do about it. I'm like, they're not going to believe me. He was a young guy. He wasn't older. He looked like a rookie. I mean, I watch movies. I know he wasn't your age, old school guy, no.
See any scars, marks, tattoos?
No, but if
Okay.
you show me a picture, I bet you I can identify him. Because he would come over here, just drive through
You
constantly.
said it was a new car he was driving.
He usually came in that little Z20. I don't know if I know my cars, but like the new one, the new black and white,
Is it black and white or all black?
all black, and got police on it. And the last stop he made, I can't quote what date it was, but he was in the older car. The older car, and I was trying to do a little searching on him, and
So the second time he was in an older car?
the last time he
Oh, the
came,
one
I
he-
didn't open the door. I was looking out the window at him. He parked back by right here.
And he wanted to walk.
He came in one of them cars.
So he wanted to just, he
I-
wanted in your house.
That was the time he wanted in my house. That's the last face-to-face he seen with me. He wanted to come in. I said, come in for what? He said, to search your home. I said, search my home for what? You was just in here last night. Did I have any drugs laying around? Did you see any doobies in my house? I smoked cigarettes. I know you see nothing but cigarettes. I said, you seen no alcohol in my home, no alcohol bottles, no beer bottles, nothing.
You ever, okay. So he only touched your breast once, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You ever touch your vagina?
No, he just looked at it.
You ever have sex with you?
No,
Okay. You ever see his penis?
no,
Do you ever talk about having sex with you?
no.
Can you think of any other thing that I'm missing or anything like that?
No, that was about it with him. He just, and I was just kind of, when I had to move to Texas for that month to help my mom, That's probably what saved me with that man.
Okay. Was here for the first and second stops, correct? Okay, is she here? You think you could send her out so I can talk with her? I'm gonna, okay. See, I thought he originally had touched you on your vagina. I was gonna get your buccal swabs because there's some DNA questions out there we have. Let
No,
me.
he didn't put his hands. He just did my breast.
Bare breasts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. If I have anything, I'll probably just swing by. So don't wig out if I come back by. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, I'll just talk with and I need your mom's number,
Okay.
and then I need that information to Terry as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I'm not gonna lie, even though I put that video together and added the music and the pictures, made me cry. I made myself cry. I'm a crybaby. So that is a part of what Brian Bates has done for this episode on Bates Investigates. Again, go to Bates Investigates, wherever you like to listen to your podcast. This was episode 11 in Bates Investigates, and at holtzclawtrial.com also is where at the homepage, if you click on the homepage for the episode, that's where you can see a bunch of pictures and Brian Bates' police report that he has, where he really digs and points out all of the just flat out lies and inconsistencies from Tabitha Bates. And as we go through this police report, you've heard most of the interview now with what he did with Tabitha Barnes, or at least what was recorded. So you're probably going to, I would imagine, be able to pick up on some, he takes a lot of liberties. Rocky Gregory takes a lot of liberties when he's writing this report. And I think you'll be able to pick out those, what he embellishes, I guess is a better word. So I think I wanted to really quickly, under your scar says white as white is white. And I think you're referring to Daniel's skin tone. And yeah, he's, even in the summer, it looks like he, like a lot of us, gets a little color to his skin and from being out in the sun, especially by water. And so, but this is, we're in this particular incident, end of February into March, it's cold. He's not been in the sun, so he's probably pretty pale, which is, from what I understand, his natural skin tone. So before I go any further, before I start with the police report, does anybody on the panel have any comments or questions or um, commentary you'd like to add so far? Okay. I also want to.
I
Oh, go
will
ahead.
say, Rhonda, I'm
Go ahead.
still a bit confused with her stories. Um, yeah, like she's talking about the third incident, but then she keeps saying last night. When he was here, did I mess that up somehow?
No, so that is legit because so he was there on the 25th, and that's the night that he is there when she comes home on the 25th of March. She sees this random black guy laying in her front yard, sleeping or passed out or whatever, and the officer is sitting on her doorstep and wants to talk to her, and she's asking, well, why are you here to talk to me? You're getting a random guy on my lawn. And so Daniel does, and Kay verified this for me, that he did go over and kind of, nudge the guy or kick the guy in the foot and tell him, get out of here, go on. That's the night that he did do a exigent circumstances entry into her house when she wasn't home.
Because the door was open, right?
Because the door was open, yes. And because of the break-in a couple of weeks earlier, he doesn't see a vehicle there, and so he's concerned that this door is open and appears to be nobody home. So he did make entry into her home without a warrant under exigent circumstances, and he did search the house. The house is very, very tiny. I mean, you can see that from the picture from the front, obviously.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
From pictures on the inside that Brian Bates has that he took off of Zillow, the rooms are just very tiny. It's a 2-bedroom house, and it's just very, very tiny. So he goes through the entire house, and he does encounter Terry Williams. She says, Tabitha says that he's in her son's bed. Who knows? I mean, sure. Okay, whatever.
What?
Yeah. But yeah, so he does see Terry Williams in the house, and he does run him and check him for warrants. And that's when I believe Daniel does discover that Terry Williams is a registered sex offender. And from what I understand, Daniel, questions him about, what are you doing in a house where there's kids that live here? You don't belong here. Get the hell out of here. You don't belong here. Is what I understand occurred on that night. So that is March 25th. That is the last time and the second time that Daniel had any contact with Tabitha Barnes, at least during this period of time. If there were more, I guarantee you that would have all been brought up in trial and everything else. So as far as I know, those are the only 2 times that he's had contact with Tabitha Barnes. February 27th twice in the 24-hour period, and March 25th when he goes into her home, and because the door is open and she wasn't there. Those are the only 3 times. The only 3 times.
Which time is it that she called her mom?
So that whole thing about the 26th, that's the day after he went into her home when she wasn't home. That's the next day on the 26th. Now, whether she called her mom, her mother testifies that she did call her, and those stories are all completely different between interviews for the police report and trial and everything. Those stories are all going to change, and we'll get to that. But so the next day, on the 26th of March, there was no contact whatsoever with Daniel.
You mean the 27th, Rhonda?
No, the 26th. The 25th was the legitimate.
Oh, it's the 25th. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. No. The 25th was the legitimate time.
Right.
Yeah. And then the next day, when she says he came back the very next day and he came up to my door and knocked on my door and I didn't know what to do.
In
And
an
I called my
old
mama
black and white.
in the
Yeah.
black and white cruiser, which didn't happen. It just didn't happen.
Yeah.
So now, if another officer in a black and white patrol car did, go to her home that day, that afternoon, then, okay, fine. But it wasn't Daniel. I guarantee you it wasn't Daniel. And I wanted to say hello to Kimmy. Kimmy, thank you for being here. We appreciate you joining us. So that's why this is so confusing, because she is all over the place with her story. And the story for the 26th is 100% untrue, fabricated, because there was zero contact with Daniel on that day. So, what we'll kind of try to do now is we're going to try to read through now that I've tried to unpack this as much as we can, we'll try to go through this police report. So this
Did you see under your scars question? I'm
I did not know.
sure what she's asking, but I have to recall, what did she do with court? Or maybe she means what happened at court, or what she say at court. I don't know.
Are you talking about Tabitha Barnes? Oh, she did a lot at court. When we read her transcript, It's going to be, it's a wild day in court for Tabitha Barnes. I will tell you this ahead of time. For those of you who have heard that accusers were showing up at court high, Tabitha Barnes showed up to court high on PCP. They actually did that wasn't court, that was the deposition. Maybe not. I'm confused too now. Sorry. She maintained that that he touched her breasts in court. At trial, I mean. She maintained that during trial. It was during her deposition that she said, he didn't touch me. So, whoops. That was a mistake. Okay, so this is the police report. And as twisted and convoluted as Tabitha Barnes is telling her story, so too is Rocky Gregory writing the report that goes with it. So I'm not going through all of it. I'm pretty much just going to go through the incidents that the 3 incidents that she talks about. Maybe we'll get through some of the other, maybe some Angela Cooper stuff. But to do all that, to start talking about Angela Cooper and Raven Summer and all those other people that were present during the break-in on the 27th of February, it's a whole other thing that I'll try to address next week. Their interviews. Also, don't forget, you can either go to holtzclawtrial.com and read all of this, and you can read it from, with all of Brian Bates' notes, which are excellent. So if you want to jump ahead, or if you want to read some of those other details from other witnesses, definitely go check that out. Episode 11 in holtzclawtrial.com. So it's important to state this date. The actual date that it was reported was the 14th of August. but this is Rocky Gregory typing the report, so take that for what it's worth. And these were the charges: sexual battery, indecent exposure, and breaking and entering. So on the sexual battery, naturally they had to go and look at Daniel's records and his AVL to verify all this time, because she's just batshit crazy when she's trying to explain this story, her story, that go with the dates, but she doesn't know any of the dates. So, like I said, this alleged sexual battery took place a little after midnight on February 27th, 2014. That's the first incident. The second encounter on the 27th during the burglary, to the best of my knowledge, is everything that I can find, there was no actual contact with her and Daniel. Daniel was just part of the 10 or whatever cops that showed up for the breaking and entering, for the burglary, but he was on a couple blocks over with the what's he called, the burglary suspect. So if he did go back to the house and have any contact with officers there, I'm not sure about that. Kay might have a better idea, but at any rate, there was not contact with her. Now, Tabitha Barnes says that he was there, and this is the part where I think it's going to say in the police report. Cherie will have to remind me again, but this is the part during the burglary incident where she said he eye contacted her. So she didn't dare tell the female cop that was there that he had assaulted her, earlier that night before. So anyway, so sexual battery and indecent exposure. She, the only indecent exposure that took place was her lifting her shirt up, if that indeed happened, over her bra, over her, past her stomach area. But this is the incident here, the sexual battery that she claims during the deposition didn't actually happen, because she says he didn't touch her breasts. He didn't touch her. So, and then they charged him with breaking and entering, and I'm pretty sure that didn't stick because of the exigent circumstance that went with that charge. Okay. Okay, these are all of the supplementals. Well, not all of them, but some of the supplementals. There's going to be an interview with involved person one, who's Ariana Barnes. And at the end of the video that we showed, I cut it off at this part, but Rocky Gregory, has Tabitha send her daughter out to for him to interview her, Ariana. And there was really any need to play that for you. You can certainly go listen to it, episode 11 of Bates Investigates, because it's all in there. But in the interview, she was very young. I think she was 11 years old at the time. He catches her lying pretty much. Rocky Gregory kind of catches her lying, and he, I don't want to say he scolded her, but he kind of did a little bit, but her story didn't quite line up, and Rocky Gregory, caught on to that. And then, of course, we got to see pictures of Terry Williams. And then, and so there will be an interview with him. And Gloria Jean Price was Tabitha's mom. And that whole story about when she went to Texas and how long she stayed there is another giant shit show lie. So And if I mean, it's hard to know for sure who's lying. I know for sure Tabitha Barnes is lying, but it kind of seems like her mom lies for her during the trial. And I don't know. I just think that's, I don't know. I think that's sad, but whatever. And then of course there's AVLs and stuff like that the in this report as well. And I'm definitely going to show at least one of those to you guys. So then all of the different things that, you know, he puts in his reports. Okay, so this is the narrative. He went to see her after looking at her suspect Holtzclaw's records. Females, Tabitha's name came about. Just randomly. And listen, if you haven't read any of Rocky Gregory's or heard any of Rocky Gregory's testimony or police reports, he is so, I don't know if illiterate is the right word, but he cannot form a promise. He's just really, really awkward with words. But her name came about. So, and she also initially, she matched a possible profile set aside by Lieutenant Musney, aka The List. He met with Tabitha Barnes at her residence on the 14th of August, advised that he had a tip that she had been the victim of an unreported sexual assault. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't like hold me to this, but I think he said in the interview, recorded interview, by a police officer, but I could be wrong because he says that was some and not others. So it might be somebody else's that I'm thinking of. Tabitha advised that she had indeed been touched inappropriately by an officer. So I know he had, there's a lie in there somewhere. And advised that an OCPD officer had been harassing her on more than one occasion. He asked Tabitha to speak to him, and she said that she would. And this is during the first unrecorded interview by Gregory. He says, which some of us think is just really strange. He says, I contacted Lieutenant Musney to come over to sit in on the interview. Tabitha sat in my police car in front of her residence. I don't know why. Maybe somebody else on the panel has an idea. I have no idea why he would call his lieutenant to come over and sit in on this interview. It's just like he did with Terry Morris. But because Rocky didn't record it, we don't know any details about why Lieutenant Musney was contacted to go sit in on the interview. She said that she'd been diagnosed with depression, never been to a mental health hospital, asked if she had ever been the victim of a crime. She stated that her son's father did assault her like 30 years ago, but she didn't pursue charges. I asked Tabitha to begin telling me about the first incident. We did learn later that so the first incident, this is the first day when she starts telling this first incident. She wasn't clear on the time period, but thought it was around March 2014. And we know that with every single accuser so far, none of them are sure when it happened, when their alleged assault happened. So she said that this first incident was around March 14th, and it was later noted as 2:27 in the midnight hour. There's a song, Rebel Yell or something. Anyway. Tabitha remarked that there was snow on the ground and it was after Christmas. Well, that's really vague. So she says March 2014, it's after Christmas and there's snow on the ground. It's pretty vague. That's a huge amount of time that she's giving herself to, for mistakes and things like that. She was parked outside with her family, getting the car warm to go. She stated that she thought it was after midnight because food stamps for the month were in effect after midnight. In a different video I did a couple of years ago, I completely debunked this whole food stamp thing happening. It just didn't happen. She couldn't possibly be waiting for food stamps because they would not have fallen on to her. The food stamps wouldn't have, been dropped into the card on the 27th of the month. But anyway, that's a whole other story. I do believe that Brian Bates also picks that out and discusses it later in his review, one of the other episode 12 or something. So they were in her green Saturn that was driven by Angela Cooper, who's 38, Zion Barnes, 14, who's Tabitha's daughter, and Ariana Barnes, age 11, who's Tabitha's daughter. Zion Barnes does not live with her mom. So that comes out later in the police report, I believe. Tabitha, and Tabitha. So there were 4 people allegedly in the car. Later evidence we found proves that Ariana was not in the car that night. So whether it's Tabitha just lying or just, being whacked out and not realizing or what, who knows? Could be anything, but she wasn't in the car that night. This is the night of the ice cream, just to make it clear. Parked in the street facing east toward the stop sign. Tabitha lives on the southwest corner. They observed officers they observed an officer's car go by southbound on Jordan. The police car pulled around the block and did a traffic stop on them. He put his police lights on. The car pulled into Tabitha's driveway. Okay, took us some time to figure out too. The car pulled into Tabitha's driveway by Angela. I think Cherie and I, or maybe I don't remember who it was, but we think we finally figured out what that means. But this is just
Angela
one of those.
was driving, I would think.
Yeah.
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 What a
But it was
what a
confusing
horrible
because it's
way to write
confusing.
that.
Yeah, because at some point she says they're in the driveway, parked, warming up the car, and now why are we pulling the car into the driveway? It's just really confusing. So anyway, another police car pulled up along on Jordan. So again, she lives on a corner. So Jordan is where she says Officer Venegas pulled up on Jordan. And Angela was taken out of the car by that police officer and placed into her car. His car. It was Officer Venegas. The officer who was in back of them was the suspect whom she had since nicknamed Spike. Okay, I'm gonna come back to StreamYard here. I just want to think about it, everyone. Did anybody in those recorded interviews hear Tabitha refer to him as Spike, other than when she said his hair was spiked up in the front when she was describing him? Just think back to what we listened to and, try to remember if you heard her refer to him as Spike. As pissed off as she was at him, how he was always coming around, I would argue you probably aren't going to ever hear her say Spike at all, other than describing his hair, the guy's hair, the officer's hair. Excuse me. And so he says here, whom she has since nicknamed Spike. Well, since when did she nickname him Spike is what I want to know, because this implies that she is telling Gregory during the interview that she's nicknamed this cop Spike. And if that's not the case, because we don't hear that, and so assuming that that's not the case at all, then what other times is she telling Rocky Gregory, oh, by the way, I call him Spike now? I mean, at what point, what report is that in? Because there's no other police reports with her besides this one. Anyway, Spike, and he keeps saying this, Spike, in quotes, told the other officer he would take Tabitha. He had Tabitha sit in the back driver's side seat. The car was on Northeast 15th facing east, so facing the corner of Jordan. The other officer let Angela go after a short period of time, and Angela went inside of the house. That officer left, and Spike was left alone with Tabitha. So Officer Venegas we'll learn during trial. I think during the trial, we'll learn that Officer Venegas wasn't really there for very long. I mean, he didn't leave very far ahead, I guess. I don't know how to say that. He left after he was finished questioning Angela Cooper, checked with Officer Holtzclaw. Hey, do you need anything else? She's clear, blah, blah, blah. And, Officer Holtzclaw said whatever he said. And so Venegas is like, all right, I'm going to go ahead and take off. I think they were talking about going back to the station or something. I don't remember. But that officer left, and Spike was left alone with Tabitha. It makes it sound so creepy. The kids came back outside and stood on the porch. Now, this is after, you can assume at this point it's close to 12:15, 12:20 in the morning, maybe approaching 12:30. But the kids came back outside and stood on the porch. Tabitha told him he was scarring her kids. Tabitha told Officer Holtzclaw, "You're scarring my kids." Spike told them to go back inside. Their mother was fine, and the kids did as told and went inside. I didn't hear any of that in that interview, but we might hear, in episode 12. Who knows? Spike had already ran Tabitha on his computer and the radio. She had small ticket warrants outstanding, no felony charges. So as per usual, as we've learned, that was common practice in Oklahoma City with small city tickets. They didn't take them into jail. I think Daniel said something to Venegas about, well, I could take her to jail because she's got these city tickets, warrants, but there's a couple hours left of my shift, and if I do that, I'm going to end up, spending the rest of my shift down there. We normally don't take them in anyway, so I'm just going to let her go with a warning, like they do just about every other city ticket. Spike, Officer Holtzclaw was verified to be this officer, came to the back driver's side door that Tabitha was on. Officer Holtzclaw asked Tabitha if she had any drugs on her. Tabitha stated no. Tabitha told him she didn't sell drugs. He then asked her, quote, "Can you show me that you don't have anything on you?" End quote. Tabitha told him yes. Tabitha said she had on a white t-shirt. I didn't hear her say that. I think she said she was probably wearing a white t-shirt because that's usually what she wears. And pajama pants. But I don't remember hearing anything about pajama pants in the interview either. Although
said
she does,
black leggings. Actually.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, she does talk about black leggings. She at first Tabitha thought she didn't have a bra on. That is not, you guys, we listened to it. We all listened to this. That is not, well, the whole bra on, bra off thing is all a bunch of lies and inconsistencies, because it really gets jumbled up between this point, the recorded interviews and preliminary trial and the trial and the deposition. It's a different story every single time it gets told. But it matters whether she had a bra on or didn't have a bra on, because you have to remember those lies. You have to remember those small details when you're telling lies, because those little things will trip you up, and they definitely trip her up. So she told him she had on a white t-shirt. At first, Tabitha thought she didn't have a bra on, but later confirmed that she did have a bra on. No, that's the way you twisted everything and confused everything. And she lied during the recorded interviews, Rocky. So Tabitha lifted her shirt up to her belly. Officer Holtzclaw said, "No. Do you have anything under your shirt?" Tabitha tried to relay to him that she didn't. And she had. Tabitha advised that Officer Holtzclaw wanted her to lift her shirt and bra up to show that she didn't have any drugs. Okay, that kind of got said, I guess, in the interview. She moved her shirt to her stomach area nope, hang on. Tabitha moved her shirt to her stomach area, just as how officers do.
What the hell, Rocky? I mean, really?
He's so bad.
This
And
is so
Kate,
bad.
It's bad. I think Kay has commented. We all commented, but I like to hear Kay talk about it. About how Timothy Musney talks at trial about why he has to review all of these police reports.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Kay.
What that is, I need to check over it for punctuation and grammar and things. But I mean, once you get a chance to read Musney's anything, just his trial testimony will let you know he's not qualified to do that. He's about as dumb as Rocky.
Well, and assuming that this report that we're reading right now has been approved, right? It's already been approved, reviewed and approved by Musney. I'll show you at the bottom when we scroll down. He sucks.
Yeah.
at verifying that grammar and all that stuff is good, because he didn't do it. Telling you what, I sure as hell wouldn't accept a report like that. Here's how we know that Tim Musney definitely did approve that review and approve it. He's got it signed right there. Anyway, so Tabitha advised Officer Holtzclaw. Officer Holtzclaw advised her to go ahead and raise them further all the way, basically. He advised he, quote, still needed to check because it's procedure, end quote. I didn't hear Tabitha say that he said that, but, I don't know. We'll see. Tabitha, he advised he still, because it's procedure, Tabitha brought up about, quote, shouldn't you have a woman police officer do that, end quote. Tabitha couldn't remember what his reply was. Tabitha brought up about what? Okay. She says that we do hear her say, why do you always come over here to see me and you don't have a female police officer with you? As Kay has mentioned before, and as what we've learned just through research that we've done, they didn't have enough officers on patrol as it was, during any given shift, really. But at night, the shift that Daniel worked, they didn't have. If they had enough patrol officers, they would be sending these guys out, doubles, or everybody. Somebody would always be showing up to back up an officer, but they didn't, and they certainly didn't have female officers available to go out and do searches on females. Go ahead. Was Kay going to say something? Or
Oh, sorry. I'm muted.
Oh,
I
you're fine.
forgot I was unmuted though.
No, it's fine. Okay, so they didn't have a big enough force, I guess, to have a female officer go out and check. And that's why when you heard Daniel in his interrogation video, and he's telling Kim Davis about how he did a backhand pat search. That's why he did a backhand pat search, because and used his thumb, because they didn't have females to go out and do these searches, and so it was often a male that was having to do them, and so they use the back of their hand so it doesn't appear like they're trying to cop a feel or something. Anyway, but Tabitha couldn't remember what his reply was, because I doubt that she asked him that, number one. But anyway, Officer Holtzclaw told her, quote, "Let me see," unquote. He didn't have a flashlight turned on. Tabitha, knowing she had to comply and knowing she had to have the tickets, lifted her shirt and bra. Tabitha's breasts were fully exposed. Tabitha was still sitting down. Imagine this. Just try to imagine this, because I don't think this is how Terry stops are conducted, but I've never done one. Tabitha was still sitting down in the back seat as Officer Holtzclaw was standing in the back driver's side doorway. And he's asking to look at her breasts, lift up her shirt, so that he can make sure that there's nothing in her bra. And then this gets really interesting. And on some really late nights, awful as it is, breaking the sickness of this whole case, there were some chuckles to be had, even though it's not funny. So I apologize. Okay, so she's still sitting in the back driver's side of the car, back seat. Officer Holtzclaw asked her, quote, "Do you mind if I lift them up?" End quote. Tabitha said yes, again, because she didn't want to be arrested. He then took both his hands, palms up, and lifted up each breast. He held up each breast, one in each hand. Tabitha was facing him, sitting in the car with her feet on the ground. He then drops her breast down and says, "Okay," as if he was satisfied he didn't find drugs under her breasts. I know that's not funny, but I know for sure me and Cherie laughed a lot, because it's so absurd. It's so absurd. Anyway, and Holtzclaw then asked her about how much time did she need to pay for her tickets. Tabitha spoke about being unemployed. She said she would try to have her tickets taken care of. Officer Holtzclaw told her, quote, "I can help you if you play by my rules," end quote. We didn't hear her say that in the interview, at least that I can recall. We didn't hear that. If somebody else hears that I missed, please let me know so I can correct myself. Tabitha felt that he was talking about an exchange of sex and would take care of the tickets. But she also said that he never exposed his penis and he never talked about having sex. She said that. We just listened to that. Tabitha then began talking to him about how she hasn't had much income since. Okay, this is interesting. Tabitha then began talking to him about how she hasn't had much income since she had a stroke. I didn't hear that in the interview. Maybe you guys did. He then let Tabitha go inside. Tabitha said no one saw him touch her breast. He didn't do anything with her privates or touch her on her pants. Tabitha thought the stop was around 20 after 12. 1:20 in the morning, 12:20 in the morning. So 20 hours, and he was done at 1:05, which that doesn't make sense to me. Because we're talking about, well, I don't know if we're to understand what Rocky's saying here. We know from, at least from AVL and other police records, Daniel wasn't there until a little after 12, around 12:20ish. It was not quite that late. And he was done at 1:05. So she's implying that this went on for about, what, 40 minutes or so? If I'm reading that correctly, is anybody else seeing it differently? Okay, we'll just leave it at that. And that's what she estimated the amount of time to be. She advised there were more incidents that she wanted to speak about. Tabitha began to cry and became upset. I didn't hear any crying or any upsetness going on. She advised she was so tired. Okay, now it's making sense. Okay. This is the time before the first interview that was not recorded. So all of this stuff that I've just read through was not recorded, and we have to just take Rocky Gregory's word for everything that was just read. She advised she was tired, had taken the Ambien. I noticed Tabitha to begin to want to nod off. Tabitha advised she was up all night taking care of her grandbaby. Tabitha requested that we continue the interview for a different time. She was given my name and number on a card. Tabitha thought the next day at 10 a.m. she could do an interview. She had no trustworthy ride to go to the police station, so I offered to come back out. And on August 15th, I went to Tabitha's house on time, but she was gone. I returned at least 5 times to try to find her, and she was never there. And it was several days later that he was finally able to reach her on the 17th of August. This is the second interview that is recorded. So all that other, I don't know why I wasn't realizing that first part was not the recorded interview, but I apologize if I misled anybody. So at 2:15, went to the residence to finish our interview. The following was audio recorded. She advised that she would finish up our interview at that time. She had caught up on her sleep. We went over the above first incident to make sure everything was covered correctly. We then moved on to the second incident. Tabitha stated that she had seen him later at her residence. There was a slumber party, and he came with other police officers, which sounds bizarre the way he wrote that. This is the time of the burglary. And again, there's no record that I'm aware of. Kate, I don't know if you know of anything out there, but I don't know if there's actually record of him actually being at her residence the night of the burglary. He may have been, I just haven't seen it yet.
The burglary of the microwave, or when her house got broken into before?
The burglary on the 27th, the night of the 27th, when they chased down the It's the same. It's the same incident. That's the same incident when the microwave was taken. That's the 27th.
I can't remember. I mean, I guess that would be in his report that's referenced in this
Yeah,
police
I
report.
read that last week, and he doesn't talk about going to her residence. He talks about detaining the suspect of the
Yeah,
burglary.
that was my recollection of what
Yeah,
happened. Do you want me to
yeah.
find that police report?
If you want to, yeah, you can. Sure, and you can read it again. I read it last week, but I don't think. Yeah, if you want to see if you can pull that out
You
and
read
read it.
we read Daniel's police report last week.
Yeah, of the from the night of the burglary. Yes. But yeah, you can find it. I don't know how soon I'll get to it. Just reading through this. So then the other, let's see, Officer Holtzclaw did not do anything inappropriate with her. The other officers were dealt with. Okay, and this is the same night as the slumber party, which we later learned was not really a slumber party. It was one extra person at the house that night, friend of Zion. Zion was spending the night at her mother's that night on the night of the burglary, the 27th, and she had a friend with her. Other than that, there were no other real little girls like Tabitha says in the recorded interview. Officer Holtzclaw did not do anything inappropriate with her. The other officers were dealt with. No incident due to other officers and family being there. So they're just assuming that because there were other officers and family members there, this officer didn't try to sexually assault her. That's what that says right there in that sentence to me. I found this report to be made on February 27th at 22:12 hours. So 10:12 was the call of the burglary. The report was of a burglary too. And then it's the case number is there, and it's also a part of this report. Officer Holtzclaw also did a report with the arrested subject, Rodney Lee, and see his report for further information. And there really wasn't a whole lot to that report, a few paragraphs as I recall. Here is the second incident. Tabitha stated it was about 2 weeks after the first incident. Yeah, that was true. The second incident occurred. This date was later found to be 3/25/14, possibly.
Isn't that like a month later?
Yeah, pretty much a month later, actually. Now, when
Yeah.
you say that, Susan,
Yeah.
because the 27th to the 25th is almost a month. So no, not 2 weeks. Y'all, good catch. And then here's another one of those. This date was later found to be 3/25/14, possibly. No, it was that day. Tabitha thought it was around 21:30 hours, so 9:30. She got home and parked southbound on Jordan, which is kind of weird, but because she'd be parked the wrong direction. But anyway, who was giving out tickets for that, right? She thought it was, and there was a police car parked on the north curb line across the street from her residence of 1530 Northeast 15. So the cop is on the street that her front of her house is actually on. The police car was facing eastbound. Tabitha noticed an unknown black male just lying in her yard on the east side of her residence. The officer was already out of his car, and it was Spike. Officer Holtzclaw approached her as she got out of her car to find out what was going on. He told her to come over to him. Tabitha and had her 11-year-old daughter with her. Ariana and her 7-year-old son Marcus in the car. She asked him, "What is it now?" Tabitha asked who the guy was in the grass. Officer Holtzclaw kicked the guy and told him to get up and move on. The unknown black male got up and moved northbound on Jordan. He didn't check him or stop this man for anything. He didn't ask for his name or any questions of him, just kicked him in, told him to get the hell out of here. Officer Holtzclaw had Tabitha to sit in the back seat, driver's side of his car. He asked her if she took care of those tickets. She said no. Tabitha thought he ran her over the radio in the front seat. He then asked her if she had any drugs on her. Tabitha told him no. If I sold drugs, why would I sit in a cold house waiting on DHS to pay for my gas? And I mean, according to her, he didn't ask her if she sold drugs. She said, "Does she have any drugs on her?" So who knows what this means? Just more of her lies, because he didn't ask her, according to her, if she sold drugs. So why is she getting all snarky about that? She then asked him, why was he always by himself to see her? He then said, quote unquote, "I'm doing you a favor." She said he didn't respond to that during the interview, but whatever. The kids were standing outside, and she mentioned about how he was scaring her kids again. He then just told them to go inside. She was fine. The kids went inside. Holtzclaw got out and went back to the driver's side of the back door where she sat. He told her before he lets her go, he had to check and see if she had any drugs. Tabitha made note that she had on, this is where the black leggings come in, that she had on black leggings and no panties. She had a white t-shirt on with no bra. She advised it was obvious she didn't have a bra on. Okay, I didn't hear her say that in the interview, but whatever. Holtzclaw advised her that he wanted to check her. She advised she understood he wanted her to lift up her shirt all the way to expose her breasts. Tabitha knew he had control over her, and she didn't want to go to jail for the tickets. Tabitha knew this was just like the last time, and she did just as she was directed. She lifted her shirt, exposed her breasts, she stated that it was obvious she didn't have anything on underneath because it was in plain view she had no bra on. She just had a shirt on, and still he had her move her shirt above her breast. Tabitha put her shirt down. There was no direct command to lift her shirt all the way, but this is how she was directed before, and to expose her breast. So she just thought that's what she was supposed to do again. Officer Holtzclaw then asked her about her pants, asked if there was anything in her pants. Tabitha knew he wanted to look. She just knew he wanted to look. She brought up about how she had nothing since they were leggings and were tight. Officer Holtzclaw wanted to see in her pants, and she again advised me she didn't want to get arrested. Again, it was mentioned about letting her go. Tabitha then moved her pants out, which with no underwear on exposed her vagina. Officer Holtzclaw looked inside her pants. She advised he could plainly see she had no underwear on. Of course. She was in the car with her feet also in the car when she's pulling out the front of her leggings out for him to see her vagina, which is kind of weird, but I don't know. I guess it's possible. I've never done it, so I wouldn't know. He stood at the open driver's back seat door. Tabitha advised Officer Holtzclaw told her that he checked her house for drugs and knew she didn't have anything. He admitted to her that he looked around the house while she was gone. He brought up about the guy in her house asleep. She advised him that if he went into her house, and he told her he did. She asked him if he went into her house, and he told her she did. Tabitha advised me he never had permission to go in her house. He did have exigent circumstances. Once she got out of the car, he said he wanted to make sure his $20 was still back there. And Tabitha said she had a 20 herself, and she didn't know what he was talking about. She then looked and seen in the I can't read words that way. She then looked and seen in the middle of the back seat laid a $20 bill. She asked him what that was for, and he said, I got my reasons. And he did have reasons, and Kay's explained those reasons to us. So who cares? It's none of her freaking business why he's got a $20 bill laying in the back seat of his car. Tabitha was let go, and she went inside. Tabitha said she talked with her boyfriend, Terry Williams. Terry was at her house in her son's room. Terry admitted to her that he was asleep and woke up with the officer in the bedroom. The officer used a flashlight in his face. He didn't let the officer in the house. The officer, he said, did run him for warrants. Tabitha advised that Officer Holtzclaw never touched her on this incident. Third incident. The very next day, so now we're talking about March 26th. The very next day, around 4:30 hours, there was a knock at the door. She said that she could tell by the knock on the door, she could tell it was Officer Holtzclaw. She opened the door and asked, and he asked her what she was doing. Tabitha said she was cooking dinner for her kids. Officer Holtzclaw stated, "Can I come in?" Tabitha told him, "No." Officer Holtzclaw said, "So you're not going to let me come in? You're not going to let me in? I need to search your house for drugs." Tabitha told him, "No, you already been in my home to look." He again stated, "So you're not going to let me in?" And he then mumbled something. Officer Holtzclaw told her, "You hadn't paid for those fucking tickets. I'll be back." And then he left. This was the last time she dealt with him. I think I put something in the video. That's just not the way I have, and well, I shouldn't be the one. Kay should really be the one to just talk about that kind of language from Daniel when he was an officer. If she's
No, I seriously doubt he said you hadn't paid those fucking tickets, or I seriously doubt that he didn't speak like that.
Well, none of this happened anyway, right?
Doesn't make
Oh,
any
yeah.
sense.
yeah.
I mean, that's how her people speak.
Yeah, exactly.
Not that I haven't ever heard Daniel say the F word, but he has good reasons for saying it now.
Yes, for sure. Well, and it's not. I mean, it's different. You too. I can't even, in my wildest imagination, imagine him speaking like that while he would be working. But like Susan said,
he really doesn't cuss that much. That's just not his habit.
No. Unlike me. I'm not a good example.
Yeah, I mean, as time goes on, I've heard more cussing, but that's just not, especially the first few years that I met him. He could be super frustrated telling a story, but expletives weren't a part of it.
Yeah,
he left all that to me.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Between you, me, Cherie is the worst.
Me,
Susan,
I'm pretty bad.
we all got him covered. He doesn't need to swear. So, okay. So the third incident, Tabitha told him, "No, I need to search." Oh, we already been through that. Tabitha moved shortly thereafter to her mother's house. Now, this is a big clusterfuck. because this whole timeline of when she moved and how long she was gone will get lied about extensively, extensively, because we heard in the video, we heard in the interview that she left. God, she says that she left May 1st to go to her mom's in Texas to take care of her mom, and that she was gone for 3 months. And I believe, I'm trying to remember because it's been a while, but there's a whole story that goes around when she actually moved and for how long she was gone. And I believe it's part of the police report here, but I'm not sure because I'm not
Because
going to go through it.
I'm recalling
Yeah.
that she was scared of him and boarded her house up and like
Right.
left the next day or something
Yeah. Yep.
after the last time she saw him.
Yep. Exactly. Which would have been March 27th if she was not lying. She boarded her house up March 27th and left to go to Texas to take care of her mom. We're going to hear somewhere else along the line, along this story, that she didn't even actually leave when she said she did to go to Texas. She just boarded up her house and pretended like she left, because then he would drive by, see her house all boarded up, and he would think she was gone and he would leave. So what happened, that gets said somewhere too. But here she says she moved shortly thereafter to her mother's house for about 3 months. Before leaving, she noticed him driving by her house every day. He probably did. He was patrolling that whole area and around her area pretty regularly because he believed that drugs were being sold there. She advised the first and second incidents he had a newer all-black car. And the last time he was in the older black and white car, the Crown Vic, when he left upset because she wouldn't let him in. I asked Tabitha again, as I did on the first time we met, to give me a description of the officer in question. And and then she goes into whatever she goes into a description here. She said she could identify him if she saw a picture of him. She probably could have. And to go over everything again, Tabitha stated he never touched her vagina. And you heard Rocky Gregory. Are you sure? Did he touch your vagina? No, he never. Because I thought you said he touched your vagina. No, Rocky, she never said that. Quit putting freaking thoughts into her head. She has enough problem remembering the lies she's going to tell as it is. They never had sex of any type, and she never saw his penis. That had to be really disappointing to Rocky to hear that she never saw his penis. They never talked about sex. He alluded to the fact earlier on their first incident. However, to basically quote unquote play by his rules, and he would help her. No, you made that shit up, Rocky. Rocky made that up. Because she says, anyway, he made it up. He makes this up. He makes up a lot of shit in this report. She took it like he meant sex. No, you took it like that's what you wanted it to be. He did touch her breasts the one time. He made her expose her breasts and vagina on the second incident. And then that concluded their interview. And he then interviewed her daughter, Ariana. Like I said, I didn't play that. I don't know. I just didn't feel like I said, you can go and listen to it on Bates podcast, and you can hear that. So has that helped untwist the first, second, and third incidents a little bit? I hope, because it took a lot of untwisting to figure that out. I don't know why I closed that, because now I want to show you why I believe 100% Daniel did not have any contact with Tabitha Barnes on the what she calls the third incident on the 26th of March. If you've listened to enough of the podcasts here, you know that I am kind of obsessed with the AVLs. I'm probably wrong, but I feel like there's little hints of deception in some of these AVLs. So this is, I spent a long time on this. This is, the date is March 26, 2014, the date of the alleged third contact when Officer Holtzclaw allegedly driving a black and white patrol car walked up to her home and knocked on her door. Like was mentioned earlier, my first clue that this was a lie was that she said he was in the black and white patrol car. Daniel, he didn't interchange which car he was going to drive. So I have all of these different dots here. These are all spots where Daniel's vehicle, his patrol car, was registered, the AVL registered at different times throughout the day, throughout the shift. And I just put little red arrows next to the speed in knots that he was going at these different times. Basically, I'm not going to go through all of them, obviously, but none of them register below, 0 knots, 0 speed. So here is this black and white, this black line going north and south is Jordan Avenue. This black line going east and west is 1530 Northeast 15th Street. This red dot is Tabitha's house on the corner. So let's see if I want to show, because I just figured something else out today that I hadn't thought of doing before, but I'll go into it in a minute. But I want to show you, basically, this red circle is the area right around Tabitha's house where Daniel may have been on the 26th, the third incident. No time at all is Daniel, at least in this one, at least in this AVL printout, at no time is he at 0 knots per hour or 0 knots, whatever, at all, much less for 5 minutes at a time, at all. According to her, he was out here on Northeast, 1530 Northeast Street when she saw him. But there's no time here where he is at 0 knots. Not only that, she claims that it must have been around 4:30 because she knew he had just got on shift. Do we know how she knew he had just got on shift? She claims she knew he had just got on shift, so it must be around 4:30 because she could smell his cologne was fresh and his hair was neatly coiffed and perfectly evidently, according to Rocky, although she doesn't say this, but he had his hair all done up with hairspray or mousse or gel or whatever it is that she's going to say. But he's never there. Even the times that he is driving around her location here, it's never around 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. It's not until 7 o'clock that night that we start seeing Daniel's patrol car showing up. But even those times, there's no speed that registers 0.
Plus, he wasn't in a black and white.
And he wasn't in a black and white patrol car. Exactly. So that, I know last week I said I was going to prove to you that Daniel was not there on this third incident. And that is my proof. And that's based on what that's in her police report. This is based on what the detectives looked at and used. Now, I want to, let me see if I can. I just realized something today that I wanted to point out. So, I mean, I don't expect others to remember this, but I will remind you that on March 25th, there was an incident with Florine Mathis, right? Being, here it is, being stopped on, because Florine Mathis made an accusation, and it was determined, and it was talked about in her trial and all that stuff, all of her ADL, that she was stopped on March 25th. I don't have the date on here, but this is March 25th. It says it right here on the thing. These are the marks. If you look at Florine Mathis's, oh my gosh, AVL, these are the marks of on the 25th. The 0 speed here, the 0 speed here, and it's covered up here with the address that whoever made this put on here. Now, there may be something sneaky about it. There may not. I am very jaded. I believe there's something sneaky about it, but probably not. But they conveniently put Tabitha's address over where it would have shown this little AVL mark for the time Florine was stopped over here. So the beginning of her stop was at 4:49. And then at, let's see. And then it went to, wait a second. 4:49, 4:59, 4:54, I think it is. Oh, this is the wrong date. Sorry. I was like, wait a minute. Here it is. I have to work in very, very large pictures when I do these because it's okay. Here's the stop for Florine Mathis. So Tabitha may have very well seen Daniel on in that corner this particular day on the 25th, the day before the 26th. This is Jordan, north and south. And this right over here, I don't have the street, but this is Tabitha's street right here, 1530 Northeast. This is her house. Here are the marks for the 25th, the second incident for Tabitha. And these are the times here. 1449 was the start, or 449, sorry, 13 was the start. 4:54:13 was 5 minutes, and then 4:59:13 was, essentially the end of the stop, or at least that's what we got from the state. But it's this is kind of what we can see right here with Tabitha Barnes on that particular day. This is legitimately the time or the day that Daniel stopped her, or not stopped her, but was waiting inside of her house when he went into her house. And, we see the 0 speeds here, where he had stopped and was talking to her. But I just wanted to show you my evidence, my proof that this was completely fabricated on the 26th, because there's no 0 speeds at the time. And not only that, he's not even in that around her house at a time that she knows he was on duty, because she could smell his fresh cologne. So, okay. Any other things that we should bring up about this, or that you want to talk about, or anybody in the chat still not quite understanding, or are we all pretty much figured out now exactly how that first 3 incidents really went based on ABLs and police reports? All right. Anything to add? That's fine. Any questions or comments from the chat? That I haven't really been paying attention to the chat, so I should go back and see what's questions. Okay, go ahead.
Going backwards, under your scars is just asking if you'll check with Daniel and see if he got her email next time you talk to him.
Yeah, I sure will. Absolutely.
I'll just let you know under your scars that I had sent Daniel a message quite a while ago, a couple weeks ago, and I had checked the website, and I checked it today, and I just happened to refresh it after I opened it, and there were 2 there. There was one from today, but there was one from a couple weeks ago, like right after I did that. So maybe try and refresh your page, because I didn't know they were there.
Improve your vision. For allergies to ADHD. You're swelling of blood vessels in the eye, and increase in eye pressure has been seen. There's an uncommon risk of heart attack or stroke associated with blood clots, corneal injury, and eye floaters. And there's still so much to see.
Kimmy says up above that such shoddy police work, they didn't even question other suspects like the ones mentioned in Matt Orchard's documentary. I can't remember. I know I've seen that one, but can't remember who they mentioned. Possibly Alexander Edwards or the other guy there, Jeff. Who was the one that got in trouble before? Am I all alone here?
No, I'm muted. I'm talking about it. No. No, Jeff Sellers was the other one.
Yes, that's it.
Was, yeah. And that was, I believe he was actually terminated in, I think, 2006, if I'm not mistaken. But he won his job back through, I think Kay called it binding arbitration or something. Basically, he went to court and sued to get his job back with the FOP. Yeah, I haven't listened to the Matt Orchard video for quite some time, but I do remember that of all of the other videos on Daniel's case that I have watched, his was fairly, what's it called? What do I want to, balanced, I guess. If the first half, because it was a 2 hour long video, if I remember, the first half talked about all the reasons why he could be guilty. And then the second hour was all of the reasons why he could absolutely be innocent. But I don't remember all of those details because it's been a couple of years since I listened to it.
Yeah, I do remember the one that was, half pro and half con, but
Yeah.
I have to watch it again.
Yeah. Hi, Sheila Hawkins. It's been a while since we've seen you, so welcome back. I know life is busy, so no hard feelings for sure. And then, sorry, I could hear you, Cherie, and I thought I was talking, but you didn't hear me. But yes, we agree. Definitely some, shoddy police work, but at the same time, the only thing they were trying to do was find more victims, quote unquote. That's what they were trying to do. So they weren't really trying to, present a good investigation, or good police work. They're just trying to get, show more victims. I give them zero grace for any mistakes or confirmation bias or plausible deny. I don't give them any grace for any of that because I believe that they were completely intent on doing exactly what they did. But yeah, absolutely, still, if this was an up and up investigation, they absolutely did horrible police work. TJ Anderson, how the hell are you? Haven't seen you for a while. It's great to have you back. And yeah, Jeff and Alex, two possible suspects that they say it at somebody's trial. I think Sherry Ellis's trial. They talk about having looked at these other two officers, but we don't really know if that's true or not. Yes, it was Jeff Sellers. Alexander Edwards was part of the prostitution ring with the FBI, or sting with the FBI, and he told one of his tricks, by the way, and screwed up the whole thing. So, let's see. It is twisted. Yes, it's twisted. It's so twisted. Let's see. Kimmy said he was found guilty and was coincidentally 5'9" in black. Yeah, we have shown his picture a couple times on the podcast. It was presented the first hour as prosecution and second hour as defense. It will give anyone with a logical brain reasonable doubt. Well, yeah, it should, for sure. Talking about Matt Orchard's presentation of Daniel's case. Anyway, I think I'm going to stop there for tonight because it's really hard to digest, and with too much information, it's hard to retain, what we've what I spoon fed you rather quickly. So, let's see here. Kimmy says it's crazy because it was proven Alex had relationships with prostitutes. Yeah. And he was ultimately terminated and pled guilty 2 years later after Daniel's case in 2016. I want to say October, but I might be wrong on that month. But I'm pretty sure it was 2016. To my knowledge, he didn't receive prison time. He pled guilty and got. I think all of his time was on paper, if I'm not mistaken. There might have been some prison time, but I don't remember that. Kimmy, maybe you know for sure, but I don't remember him getting any prison time.
No, he didn't get anything.
Okay, yeah, I didn't think so. Okay. So we'll pick up. We're going to do one more week for sure with with Brian Bates' review of Morris, Tabitha Barnes' twisted story, and then we will probation for 5 years. That's what I thought, and then we'll probably get started with preliminary hearing transcripts. The following week, so a week from 2 weeks from now. And that's going to take it's going to take some time to get through those as well, because it's long testimony for Tabitha Barnes' story, just hers by herself. And then, it's definitely worth going over her, the witnesses also in her case. So
Yes, Tabitha, there's some issues.
Yes, definite issues. Yeah, and she's nasty and mean and hateful, and oh man, the way she talks to Scott Adams is just like, wow. It's pretty outrageous, but we'll get there. We'll definitely get there. So that's all I have for tonight. So unless there are any other comments or questions from the chat, or any other comments or questions from the panel, I think we're going to call this one done. And we will be back next week at 5 p.m. Central Time with more information, as if you haven't had enough already, about the Tabitha Barnes accusation of her accusations against Officer Daniel Holtzclaw. So until next week, peace out.